Hello, my name's David Reid, course advisor here at Point Blank Music School. I'm joined this week by Ben Bristow, who's our head DJ tutor. Welcome along to Friday Forum Live. Hi, welcome along. It is 1 o'clock here in London, which means it's time for Friday Forum Live. If you've not joined us before for Friday Forum, this is basically a quick half-hour, 40-minute guide to some of the techniques and tutorials that we feature on the online courses at Point Blank Music School. So this week I'm joined by Ben Bristow, who's our head DJ tutor, and today he's going to be guiding you through some tips and tricks and techniques specifically relating to the Pioneer RMX 1000. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to put to us about DJ courses or mixing, or we can tackle production questions as well, because obviously we teach DJ courses and production courses. So basically anything you've got that you want to know about DJing, production, remixing, we'll try and tackle those questions live, as many of them as we can. If you've got questions about courses, that's something I can help with. If you've got questions in particular about DJing, Ben's the expert in that particular department, so he'll be able to help you. So yeah, we'll cut to the chase. I'll hand you over to Ben, and he can guide you through some of the material that we're going to look at related to the RMX 1000. And then, as I said, keep those questions coming in. Let us know where you're watching. That's always good to hear. And we'll try and tackle some of those questions as we go. So yeah, thanks for joining us on Friday Forum. Here comes Ben.
Thanks, David. So what we've got here, the RMX 1000, it's an external effects unit. You can use it obviously with DJ equipment. You can also use it as part of your DAW setup. So it's compatible with Logic and Ableton. So you can actually use the MIDI functions to kind of trigger sounds from it, and use controllers with it and that sort of thing. Today we're going to be mainly focusing on using it with sort of DJ setups. So it works on the send and return basically. So if you've got a mixer with send and return, you're sending the send from the mixer into the input of the RMX, and then the output of the RMX back into the return. So basically you can send individual channels on your mixer into it, affect them, and then send it back out again. So what you've got is basically divided into kind of 4 sections. So you've got these isolate effects, which basically have got kind of each one of these buttons can do 2 different things depending on whether you go to the left or to the right. You've got cut and add, transformer, roll effects, kind of gates effects. So some pretty cool stuff you can do with this. You've also got the scene effects. So this sort of circular section here, it's got the top ones are kind of like riser and build up sort of effects. So you've got things like noise, which a bit like on the DJM 900 or on the 2000 itself, you can kind of generate noise with the insert effects. Basically, you've also got these breakdown kind of effects at the bottom here. So the blue ones are basically kind of more sort of leading you into breakdowns and things like that, whereas the other ones at the top are more sort of build-up sort of effects. And then on the end here, you've got release effects. So this is pretty cool. So you can basically, anything you're doing with the device, if you want to get out of it and sort of go back to your original track, if you click this switch, so it basically resets the whole unit. So finally you've got the X pad. So anyone familiar with the DJM 900, you've got a little X pad on there. They've kind of made it bigger for the RMX, and it's also got like built-in sounds that you can trigger, like a 909 kick, snare, clap, and hi-hat. It's also got the capability to load in your own sounds. So you've got SD card here on the side, so you can actually load up your own banks of samples, which is really cool. And it's got the roll effect on it, so you can also kind of record from an external source, get that to roll, and then pitch it. So it's a pretty powerful device. So let me give you an example of a couple of things you can do. So I'm just going to basically, I've set up send and return on channel 3, which is where this track's coming from. So when I play it, you get activity here. You can see the input signal coming in. So if I select, I've also selected what I want to be affected. So I've selected input as the source here, meaning it will apply these effects to the actual tune. So if I click on like cut add, if I go to the right, it's adding kind of layers of mid frequencies. kind of echoing a little bit. And if obviously the highs, it's going to add extra layers of highs. If I go the other way, it's a kind of EQ cuts frequencies. Then you've got the trans effect, which is the next one along. You can hear there it's kind of adding sort of, well, it's basically transforming certain frequencies. And then if you go the other way, it's the roll effect, so you get that kind of, you know, repeat section effect. So it's a really sort of cool sounding effect, really clean sounding. So if I just go back to the beginning there, if I go to the other, the scene effects, say I want to put an echo on there, this dial in the middle will bring that echo in. I should basically, yeah, I'm also made sure that it's got the right tempo into the device. So if you have auto on, any channel that's being sent into it, it should detect the BPM. So obviously you don't want to be putting echo on stuff when the BPM isn't the same as the track, because it might get a bit messy. You can hear there, it's obviously echoing. You've also got these sub-parameters, so you can, these two dials will change different parameters per effect. You can hear there, that's kind of affecting the sound. You've got like a spiral up effect, which creates pretty cool kind of build up effect. Also, you can use them in conjunction with each other, so I might have an isolator effect on and the echo, you know, it's going to do both of those effects. And then if you, let's just put that beginning. And now if I want to get out of everything, these release effects, if I press that, at the moment I've got it set on vinyl breaks, you can hear it's kind of cut everything and the sound. As soon as I take that off, the track, you know, the tune was playing all the time, but it came back in. So it means you can get in quite a mess or, you know, do some mad build up, and then suddenly just press release effects and it will bring your track back in. So on the release effects you've got vinyl break, the other one is echo, which is pretty cool, so it does like a tail off, and then backspin, or spin back, so that's pretty cool, because you know you can get a bit carried away, you know, put too many effects on and you just want to get back to your original track, so you just go bang and then hopefully time it with the, you know, the drop of your tune or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, that's the kind of an overview of what it can do. If you're familiar with the, you know, the DJM 2000 or the 900, it's quite a few of the effects are similar. It's just, you know, bigger dials, which are really cool because they're quite, you know, nice to use. This section down here is really good as well. So the X pad, like I said before, you've got kind of drum beats, which you can basically program in. So if I was playing the track and I wanted to create a little beat over the top of it, I press overdub, and then when I start, you know, triggering these, it will kind of loop them. So you can hear there's a kick and snare playing. You can also nudge it. So if it goes a little bit off beat, you can use these nudge buttons to kind of get it back in time with your track, which is really useful. It's pretty accurate as well. So you know, now it's in overdub mode, I could actually turn it up a bit, add a layer of hi-hats. So you can basically create your own beats from scratch and kind of keep them in time with your tune that you're playing. You can even like mute. Oh, turn a bit off. If you wanted to mute one of these that's playing, you can hold down this hold button and then press the one you want to mute. So now it's still doing the basic pattern, but the hi-hat's muted, and then I can bring it back in. Yeah, so, and then you can do kind of roll effects with it. So if I hold down one of these X-Pad sort of squares, you can hear it actually remembers what you've done, so it's kind of now doing a roll on that beat that I created. Can get a bit hectic, obviously, but it's pretty powerful machine, really. Because it's called the remix because obviously it's about kind of, you can actually create live remixes with it. So it's kind of goes that little step beyond being just a basic effects unit. Yeah, so let me show you that again. So if I tap in, I might want to just create my own beat, for example. So if I tap in a rough tempo, then if I press overdub, and then I'll do like a kick and snare. It's a little bit off. Let's just turn that down a bit. So now I can layer another layer of hi-hats. You can even pitch it up and down. And of course you can add effects to this. So if I've got, if I turn on one of these effects, you can add a bit of echo over it, put a different effect on this. Now one thing you can do, which is pretty cool, is if you've got that running, what I can do is flick it over to its own channel so that I can keep it separate from the channel that my actual tune is on. So at the moment I'm sending and returning channel 3. If I switch to channel 4, you'll see the beat is now coming through on channel 4. So it's separate now from my actual tune. So I could start playing with the tune that I was originally using on that channel, or obviously scratch over the top of it. You could. So it basically means you can do kind of literally make a tune up using the beat thing and put some effects over it, or use it for rolling over the top of your tracks. It's a really sort of neat little feature, that. And of course you can load in your own samples with the SD card, so you could have your own kind of bespoke, sirens or your DJ name, things like that, which you could trigger or roll over the top of your tracks. Let's just turn that off. I don't know if have we had any questions through, Dave?
Yeah, there's a few sort of DJs and producers watching by the sound of it. The Influence 30 was saying, or just asking about how you would use it in conjunction with a DAW. Not something we'll get a chance to look at probably today.
No, well there's a bit of software that comes with it called Remix Box. So you can have that and basically change every function on it to do whatever it is you want it to do.
Right.
And obviously you could just use it and use the send and return. If you had a little desk or whatever with your, with Logic, you could send it and return it back into the audio channel or whatever.
So just use it like any other sort of hardware effects unit?
Basically it is a hardware effects unit. We're just happening to be using it with DJ equipment.
Yeah.
Obviously it's geared for DJs because it's kind of nice and easy to get things running. But yeah, and it's got MIDI capabilities, so you could use, it's got USB connection. You could use a controller with it. Depending on what your sound card is and stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You mostly use Logic, don't you?
Logic and Ableton, yeah. I haven't actually used this with Logic and Ableton yet, but that I think you'd go into Remix Box and set it up with that, or you can,
So it's pretty kind of flexible and user definable and.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can change all the functions, as I said. So in Ableton, you might want these to be your EQs. In Ableton, you can map it so that you can change.
Yeah.
Every function can be kind of MIDI programmed, basically.
Great.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only questions so far. So yeah, as I said at the beginning, keep those questions coming in. If they're DJ orientated, then obviously, we've got a DJ expert here, so Ben will be able to, cope with those. If you've got any questions about the courses, if you're new to Point Blank and you're not quite sure how online learning works, then I'd be happy to talk you through that. Don't forget also, I should mention, classes start on Monday. So we've got some online courses starting on Monday, some of the most popular ones. These are actually extra classes that we've had to add because a lot of the classes at the moment are just so popular. So check those out on the website if you haven't already. You'll find them, they're advertised on the homepage. So you can check those out. Looks like that, as you can see from the counter here, hopefully. You've got a couple of days left to enrol before they start on Monday. One other thing I should mention while we're on the DJ theme is we did an offer last month on half-price DJ courses. So throughout August, you could get one of the online DJ courses at half price. Again, that offer runs out in 2 days. So we extended it into September, but it does run out at the end of this month. So if you wanted to jump on board and get yourself a DJ course online for half price, you can still do that here. I'll just show you where to take advantage of that offer. If you scroll down here, there you go, special offers extended. That's running through September, but it will end at the end of this month. So that's kind of your last chance to get an Ableton Live DJ course or a Serato DJ course at half price. Right, I'll hand you back to Ben. And yeah, let's see what else he's got in his bag of tricks.
Well, one of the other things you can do, which is pretty cool, like if you're familiar with the roll effect, roll, for those of you who don't know, is kind of like, it just basically records a little loop of audio. So you can, it holds the audio in the mixer while the track underneath is kind of muted if the roll effect's playing on the same channel. So what you can do with this X-Pad is record like from an external source, like a deck or a mic or whatever, and roll it. So you can do, if you're working with an MC or anything like that, you can basically record a little bit of what they're saying and then have it as a loop. So what I've done here is I've put the mic as the send and return. So that's going to be sending into the remix when I press the button. And then if I have it on the roll here on the X-Pad, basically what you have to do is just hold down. It's a bit tricky because you have to kind of press the button and speak just at the right point, because if there's a gap of silence before what you've said, there's obviously, when you sort of try and change the speed of the roll, it's going to be rolling silence basically. So it's almost like press it just as you talk so that there's definitely sound there. So we could say something like house music, house music, house music, house music, so house music, house music. If I press hold, music, now it's kind of rolling on that particular pad. So if I press the next pad along, it gets faster. So you're basically shortening the length of the loop. And then with the pitch effect, if I play a beat, so you can create some pretty cool effects, just with a little snippet of sound, basically. Just stop that. Yeah, and obviously the pitch here, if you go to the left with the pitch, it goes down in pitch. If you go to the right, it goes up in pitch. So you can do some pretty cool, if you get it on a really fast roll and turn the pitch up at the same time, it's basically creating like a, you hear that sort of effect in dance music all the time, don't you? As a kind of build-up. And of course you can do it from an external or a deck. So if I wanted to record like just find a little sample. So now I want to send channel 2 into the device, so I'll go to channel 2 on my send and return. Same thing, just basically press the Q button as I press the roll button. The important thing is to press hold, because then it will stay looping and you haven't got to hold it down, obviously. And then basically completely changed the, what the original sound source was with these isolator effects. And then start your beat. And then flick it onto its own channel. Yeah, so like I said, it's a really cool little trick you can do. Same as roll, basically. When you activate roll, it records from the point you press the on button. Yeah, so it's basically that would be kind of one of the things that I might use it for. Yeah, and also, as I said, the release effects. If you had that going and it all got a bit too much and then you wanted to bring a track in, you could just press release effects, everything would cut and you could start your new track. So it's, yeah, as I said, pretty powerful bit of kit, really. Got any more questions?
The influencer's asking, is it possible to layer your own sounds onto the individual knobs?
Yes, well, not onto the dials, it is onto these 4 pads here. So I think you can have 16 seconds worth of sound. Right. So you've got an SD slot on the side here. So if you load up sounds onto your SD card, you can basically have like 4-second samples on each button, or you could have one 16-second sample on one of the buttons. I think you can only have 16 seconds of audio. Yeah, so you could load in your own kicks and snares if you had from Logic or from whatever samples you've got. I'm sure a lot of DJs do that, where they've got a specific sample about their DJ name or their label name or whatever, and then you can trigger it, do the same sort of thing, trigger it from there, get it rolling, have it as an effect on its own channel. Yes, you can do that. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Like I said before, anyone else has got any questions, keep them coming in. Yeah, I think we've tackled everything that's come in so far. So yeah, anything else you've got in your your locker, Ben?
Yeah. Well, obviously you can. I mean, one of the things you can do, rather than just sending an individual channel into it, you can send from the crossfader. So, like if I'm scratching, quite often what I'll do is put echo on the crossfader so that the echo kind of continues even after I've shut the fader. So if I assign to crossfader A on the channel select here, that will mean what we'll be sending in, if I've got it on send and return, will be after the fader, if you see what I mean. So let's put it on send and return, get rid of that. Right, so it means that I could basically put an effect on, like echo on here, or bandpass frequency echo. So when the fader shuts, you don't hear the sound anymore. When it opens, this effect unit is going to apply the effect to what I've sent to the crossfader, basically. So, like, over a beat, things like echo are good because it always kind of tails off nicely. So these sub-parameters kind of change slightly what that's going to do. Maybe want a little bit of a longer kind of tail off on it. Yes, that's one of the cool things. Don't always think you have to send an individual channel into it. You can send stuff from the fader. So you might be, playing a beat on the one of the decks, and you say if I assign it to crossfader B now, I could be cutting and chopping that beat, and it would be applying the effect to that when I've shut, even once the fader's shut. So if we send it in. So, if you had another tune playing on this side and then you've got this one, you can just cut little snippets of sound over the top of it, and it kind of layers it nicely without it chopping kind of dead. Obviously, if I had it,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool. So if I had it assigned to the channel, it wouldn't work like that. It would be putting the echo on it, but as soon as I shut the fader, everything cuts dry. So that's the advantage of using these crossfader A and B as signs. A lot of people don't realise that's what it does, but any effect where you've got a kind of something that you want to tail off, like echo or reverb, things like that, it's a good one to do because, as you can hear, sorry, B, we want it on. So if I played another tune on here, even if that's not in time, you can kind of chop little bursts of sound over.
Yeah.
It's not beat matched at all. So if I make sure this tempo is into the device, it will sound even better because then the effect will be at the speed of the tune that I'm playing. They're roughly the same anyway, but... Bit scrappy there. Maybe take the bass out. So basically, if you get the effect in time with the main track and you've got anything playing on your other deck, whatever you send to the fader is going to kind of echo at the speed of the main track. So it's quite a cool one just for kind of creating layers, and if you haven't had time to beat match, it's a way of putting them over each other without worrying about the beat matching.
So I suppose in terms of the courses that we teach here at the college in London, this is the kind of material you look at on the intermediate DJ, isn't it, and the advanced?
Yeah.
So it's less about mixing and more about getting a bit more creative and sort of almost into remix territory.
I mean, a lot of DJing is kind of live remixing, isn't it? Yeah, but definitely, I mean, the basic course is more about learning the actual fundamental skills of beat matching and how to get things the same speed.
Yeah.
Once you've got past that, then obviously it's the more creative stuff, like what we're doing here, a cappella mixing, similar sort of thing. If you had an a cappella playing, you can burst little bits of it over the top of a track. Especially if you're playing stuff like minimal or deep house, it might not sound right to have a full a cappella over it.
Yeah.
But that sort of music
little
has
snippets can sound quite...
that's kind of what the music has in it anyway. Little samples. So yeah, we'll cover that sort of thing. We cover looping, the hot cues, which I've got set up here. So about the A, B, and the C. Point blank. So just saving different cue points to hot cues. Saving loops to hot cues and how to like adjust loops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just as a quick example, if you create a loop, the advantage with the 2000s is they've got you can quantize the loops basically. It works a lot better if you've used Recordbox to actually grid your tracks, but most CDJs or the older CDJs you have to manually adjust the loop points if you haven't got it right. Whereas this you get basically a list of options of different beat values. So if your beats or if your loop's slightly off, you can press that and it will make it like a perfect 8-beat loop. So if I just do a little loop here, actually let's get it a bit further on in the track so it's a bit more interesting. So it's a little bit off, so if I want to adjust that, just turn it down a bit. As soon as you press the out button, you get this whole list of numbers comes up, which represents beats. So if I go to 8, now it's going to be an 8-beat loop. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. Yeah. The advantage with this is you can use this or you can use this beat loop divide button. So if I press this button now, it's going to become a 4-beat loop instead of 8. So you can hear the loop's now half as long as it was. Press it again. 2 beats. 1 beat. Now I might put like a little filter on here. So that's just basically making a loop a lot shorter, and then I was using the high pass filter here on the insert effects. So things like that. I mean, a lot of what we teach on that intermediate course you don't necessarily have to be perfect at beat matching, because some of the stuff it's kind of making it sound good whether it's beat matched or not. Because there are kind of ways to get between tracks using effects like that, and but yeah, definitely that would be something we'd more focus on in the intermediate class.
Quick question from Takashi. He's saying he's not a DJ and it's the first time he's seen the RMX up to now.
Yeah.
So could you just recap on the 3 knobs on the left-hand side?
Yep. So right. Okay. So basically, hang on, let's get it.
He said, is it basically is that just the parameters only for the selected effect?
These 3 big knobs here only affect the isolate effects. So you've got this is kind of one effects unit here, right? Whereas this is a separate one, this is a separate one. So basically, if I say I'm on cut add, if I go to the left with any of these dials, it's going to cut frequencies, low frequencies, mid frequencies, or high frequencies. If I go to the right with those dials, it's going to add some of those frequencies.
And boost them.
Yeah, so, it kind of adds extra, like, a little bit like echo. So, let's put it on send and return on channel 3. Turn that off. So if I press add, if I go towards the right with the mid one, and here you get a bit of a kind of echo effect. If I go to the left with it, it's basically cutting stuff. So it's almost like a gated sort of effect. There's a gate on the end there, but so those dials aren't going to affect the X pad or anything, but you can. This kind of feeds into this one. So if you've got a beat rolling from your X pad that you've created with these trigger buttons, you can apply these effects to that. So it's all kind of roots through itself. Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's kind of 2 effects. So you see each button has got 2 different labels. So I think the isolator one is just EQs. So it's basically just an isolator EQ. Like if you're familiar with that, on the newer Pioneer mixers like the 900, the 2000, you've got the option, because a lot of the older ones, they weren't isolator EQs. So what that means is if I'm playing a tune, if I've selected here isolator, because we've got 2 options, EQ or isolator. If it's on isolator, it means these EQs can actually kill that frequency range completely. So if I take the bass out and the mids and the highs, you won't hear anything. So you can bring in tunes from kind of just the bass, bringing it in, bringing up the mids. Whereas if I was on the other setting, just EQ, even though they're all down, it means it's just basically reducing the volume of those frequency ranges. It doesn't actually cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've not played around with that, if you've got one of these mixers, personally I prefer it on isolator because I like to be able to cut things completely from the track. So that's the same as on the RMX there. If I'm sending it in, yeah, because they're all down, it's cut out.
Yeah.
So it's actually isolating. Go the other way, it's going to boost. Yeah. So recapping, isolator means basically EQing. It's going to turn everything off if you turn it all the way to the left. If you turn it to the right, it's going to boost that frequency range. The other ones are, the first word on the button is what will happen if you go to the left with it. The second word will be what will happen if you go to the right. So you've got like transform for as an effect. That's the kind of cuts the sound in and out. So if I play it, you can hear it's kind of chopping the vocal there. If I put them all to the left, then it's kind of really severely gating the sound. So you're only getting a tiny bit of sound through. Like gate. Not a bit. You can hear it's kind of doing a bit of almost tremolo. If I go the other way, drive, it's going to boost it. It's adding volume to it, basically. So hopefully that's answered your question.
Yeah, someone at Wolf Pyroman, who I know is a regular. So, hi, how you doing?
Hi.
How to lock and unlock the needle function on a CDJ 2000?
That's a very, very good question, because when you're, there is a needle lock on there. Basically, if you're holding the tune, then you can skip forward and backwards through the track. Whereas if the tune's playing, it won't let you do that.
Okay.
So if for example, I might be at the end of a track. I mean, it's not a thing you can really use when you're playing, because obviously if you did it, everyone would hear it rewind. So if I'm practicing or whatever, it's in my headphones and I wanted to get back to the beginning of the track, there's about 4 different ways of doing it on a CDJ. You can either use the search button on its own, or you can use the jog wheel on its own, or if you might not know this, if you hold down the search button and use the jog wheel, then it will quickly fast forward and rewind. So that's on even the older CDJs, whereas on the 2000s you can use that little ribbon controller.
Yeah.
So it's much quicker, obviously, to just literally go right like that. Now it's back at the beginning of the track.
Yeah.
It will lock, I think, when it's in play mode. So hopefully that's answered that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good tip to me.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyone who's got older CDJs, if you're rewinding, fast forwarding, obviously you don't want to be standing there doing that for 5 minutes. So press search. It doesn't matter, even if like the jog wheel will dictate which way it goes in terms of rewinding or fast forwarding. So even if you're pressing the forward search button, if you go anti-clockwise with the jog wheel, it will rewind quicker. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
JMB says it looks like all that gear would take a while to set up. Yeah, you're right. It does.
Wow.
But I should point out, we're coming to you live today from Studio 8 at Point Blank Music School in London. So this room, when we're not using it for Friday Forum Live, we use it for teaching. So if you could see what I'm seeing, you'd see all the kind of various bits of kit around the outside of the room. We use this room for mixing, which is why you've got the TL Audio mixing desk in the background, all kind of monitoring setup. And then the DJ kit we just bring in basically just to do this demo for you today, but normally this lives in the DJ studio, which is Studio 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, Studio 2, which is Ben's spiritual home. That's the church where he gives his sermons. So yeah, Studio 2 is where the DJ courses take place, and there's 9 DJ setups in there, 1 for each individual student on the course. They're not all this complex. So what we try and do on Ben's DJ course is give you a taste of lots of different DJ setups. So yeah, don't if you're new to DJing and this all looks a bit intimidating, then don't worry, because we wouldn't, on a beginner's DJ course, we certainly wouldn't sort of start you off on something this complex. The tutorial today, or the kind of demo that we're doing today, is aimed at people that are a bit more experienced. But we do teach courses right from beginners all the way through to, we've had quite a lot of pro DJs come through the doors, and pro producers as well. So, whatever level you're at, we can find a course for you. If you're not sure if it's the right course, then speak to me or one of the other course advisors, and we'll be happy to talk you through the options. So we're kind of getting near to the end now. There's one other question that came in from our friend Wolf Pyroman, who says, does the RMX have a quantization function?
It does, yes. So you've got a button here, quantize. Obviously, if you can prepare stuff using Rekordbox, the Pioneer software. So that's about a bit like Ableton. You can go in and kind of grid your tracks, or if you've got Tractor, it's a similar sort of principle.
So it's like warping them.
Yeah. Well, you can't. I don't think it can actually warp independent sections. So if you've got a track that's kind of varies in speed, it's not quite as powerful as Ableton. But it's like putting a grid around your tune, so each main beat's got a grid. Then it means all the Pioneer stuff can quantize according to that grid. So like with the loops, it would be locking to your specified, beat markers basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can quantize, yeah. And obviously with that thing I was doing earlier, you've got a nudge button, so you can even beat match kind of manually by just nudging it forward and backwards.
Yeah.
If you've got a tune or a beat that you've created in it, yeah. So yeah, it does. And obviously if you're using it as a plug-in for Logic or whatever, it would be doing it via MIDI.
And someone else is asking, can most of this be done with Tractor?
Well, Tractor's got effects in it, but obviously it depends what setup you've got. The thing like with Scratch Live is the effects are pre-fader, so the effects are on the tune before they get to your mixer. So things like where I'm shutting the fader and the echo dies off, you couldn't do that. So I presume it's the same in Tractor, because that's the effect is coming from the computer down into your mixer.
Yeah.
There are things that this can do that Tractor definitely won't be able to do, as I'm sure there's a few things Tractor can do that this can't do. But with DJ equipment, there's a lot of things that all of the equipment can kind of have those basic, like, echo and delay and things like that are quite common.
Like you were saying on the CDJ a minute ago, there's 3 or 4 different ways of doing the same sort of task.
Yeah.
So.
There's often ways of tricking it into, thinking it's doing one thing and making it do something else, kind of thing.
Well, I think we're sort of coming towards the end now. So if you've got any last minute questions, then by all means, post them in the comments and I'll try and answer them on text. Or as I said, myself and the other course advisors are available Monday to Friday, often at weekends as well. You can chat to us live on the website. I'll show you how you do that just now. So here we go. So yeah, if you're looking at Point Blank online and you've got any questions about what we do or which course is right for you, that kind of thing, there's lots of different ways you can get in touch. You can give us a call, as you can see. You can click this button here and drop us an email question. Or if you want to chat live with someone in the office right now, just click on that chat live button and there's someone here to answer your questions. So, we've got students all over the world. We love to hear, where you are and what you're up to and what you're trying to achieve with your music. And if we can help, then we'd love to. So get in touch. As I said at the beginning, courses start Monday. So if you're itching to get started, then you don't have to wait very long. Next course start date after that is the 15th of October. So as always with the online courses, you don't have to wait very long to get stuck into whichever course you choose. I'm going to hand you over to Ben in just a second, who's going to play us out with some tunes. But thanks for tuning in and watching Friday Forum Live, and we'll be back next week at the same time, which is 1 p.m. here in London. Thanks for watching Friday Forum Live. Bye.
On the arsenal, I got artillery, lyrics and ammo, rhymes and rhythms, and I'ma give 'em piano. Bring a bulletproof vest, nothing to ricochet. Ready aim at your brain and what the trigger say. Tempo's trifle, felt like a rifle. Massage and melodies might go right through simultaneously like a Uzi. Nothing can bruise me. Lyrics let up when ladies say don't lose me. So reload quickly, and you better hit me. While I'm letting this feet get with me. And stepping with 007, better make it snappy. No time to do your hair, baby. Brothers busting at me, beasts and bullets pass me, not on target. They want the R hit, but watch the guard get quicker. The tongue is a trigger, cause I'm real fast. Let off some rhythm at 'em, let 'em feel the blast. Penetrated a crazy rate, this ain't a 38. Hit 'em at point blank range. Point blank range. Point blank range. Point blank range, watch 'em radiate. Running out of ammunition, I'm done with 'em. You ask me how I did 'em, I let the rhythm hit 'em.